Well, and just because you don't look like you have belly fat, you might want to get on what we call a body
Hmm.
composition analysis machine so that you can actually see how much fat you have and if it's in your
Yeah.
organs, because we've seen very, very skinny people actually have visceral fat. Now,
Say that one more time. That's really good. I like that.
I have helped heal more people with my hands than I ever have with my prescription pad.
Man, I wish that statement right there would be on marquees around every single physician's office ever, because the idea that you just said you can heal more people with your hands.
That jurisdiction of the sheriff is really the most powerful guard and protector of the rights of the people than any other institution our founders created here.
Today's topic, we're going to talk about this thing called belly fat. And we know that belly fat is oftentimes toxic fat because it's around the organs. And when belly fat gets into the organs, it can create significant compromise.
Well, it can, and we've spent probably hours and really decades talking about this accumulation of belly fat. And I think giving people some real tips on how to reduce that is critical. And it is something that can be reduced. And as we age, the tendency to have it more accumulated and harder to get off the body is common. So, no matter where you are in the aging process, um, there's some steps here that's going to work for you. If you're not a person who has belly fat, these steps will help you prevent it as well.
Well, and just because you don't look like you have belly fat, you might want to get on what we call a body
Hmm.
composition analysis machine so that you can actually see how much fat you have and if it's in your
Yeah.
organs, because we've seen very, very skinny people actually have visceral fat that's surprising when we evaluate them through body composition analysis.
Yeah, and just so people know that the ideal body fat percentage for ladies is between probably 18 and 26%. That'd be a good general rule. The older you are, of course, upper end of that. Men, somewhere between 10 and 16 or 17 is not a bad thing. Older you are, upper end, younger you are, lower end.
So, one of the most important things that we can do to optimize body composition is dietary or nutritional. I hate to use the word diet
I
because
know.
the first three letters of the word diet are
Yeah, yeah.
DIE. And we want people to have long term behavioral change and have a relationship with food and enjoy it. So,
We do.
nutritional habits are very, very important in getting rid of that little bit of extra belly fat. And oftentimes we have to get rid of the sugars, the white flours, the white breads, the white grains, all of the whites. If we just stop all the white stuff and get rid of the sugary drinks, that's
Hmm.
a big step in the right direction.
It is, and if people just do that right there, is it perfect? No, but is it a step in the right direction? Yes, and so there you go. Tip number one is to reduce all the sugary drinks and then the white things like the white rices and the white potatoes and all that kind of stuff.
What about when should we stop eating at night?
Probably give yourself at minimum a two or greater gap between the time you eat your last meal and take your last bite and the time you lie down. The worst thing to do for people, if they want to gain belly fat, would be to eat late, lie down immediately. Don't do that. The ideal thing to do is stop eating your last meal, take your last bite 2 hours or more before you lie down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You said 2 hours or more. If you're going down to sleep on a full stomach, that is a stressor, and
Totally.
your body is really not cleaning itself during the night like it should, so it's under stress during the night. And another way to get rid of that extra belly fat is to monitor or keep a finger on the pulse of your cortisol levels. Now,
Yeah.
people are going, "Well, what are cortisol levels?" Can you give us some tips on cortisol?
Well, yeah, when you have an emotion or a thought of fear, anxiety, that's going to immediately produce cortisol. Traffic jams, hearing a negative report on media, getting injured, those things produce cortisol. eating late and lying down produces cortisol. Key thing, and why this is important, is when cortisol is produced in abundance in the body, we will not break down our food appropriately. Therefore, that equates to more potential storage of body fat.
Yes. You know, I absolutely love taking care of ladies in the clinic. Perimenopausal, postmenopausal,
Mhm.
premenopausal. When hormones become imbalanced, that is one of the main triggers for putting on this little belly fat. That's not just true for ladies, it's also true for males.
Totally. There is a ton of scenarios today where men are becoming lower production of testosterone earlier in life. I suppose it's probably because of diet and toxins and stress and lack of sleep and stuff like that. And they're getting this andropause where their production of androgens are pausing, which is similar to menopause. Menopause can be obviously the menstrual cycle's pause, but that's when a lady has a surgery of some sort. Even a partial hysterectomy will sort of force that issue. And then certainly when they stop producing hormones. But the absence of hormones, this is key for men and women, the absence of hormones equates to a higher risk of belly fat and even heart and brain and bone disease.
Yeah, this conversation is just ringing the bells in my head about hormones. You talked about leptin, we've talked about carbohydrates and insulin. Now we've talked about estrogen and testosterone. So hormone balance is very, very important
Yeah.
to helping regulate this thing called body fat. At what age should somebody have their hormones checked?
Honestly, today, I think men in their 30s. I really do. And I think ladies probably in their 30s too. Obviously, ladies might before that because stress can do a number on a lady's menstrual cycles. I was talking to a lady just the other day, and she was like saying, "Well, I hadn't had a period in like X number of months. Is there something wrong?" And then I started digging into her background, and she's really a high level athlete. Exercise highly intensely, and she was even doing 2-a-days. And I said, "Well, this is why, because your body through cortisol, stress, is interpreting that as being chased perpetually by a bear. And obviously, it wouldn't be wise for your body if, while being chased by a bear, you all of a sudden decided to want to produce a baby because the bear's going to eat the whole darn family." And she's like, "Oh, I get it. So really, I shouldn't worry about it." The answer is, don't worry about it. But maybe the stress is creating that process. But perhaps, late 20s, early 30s for men and women would be wisdom.
So we've talked about nutrition. We know exercise plays a huge, huge role in it as well.
Hmm.
We got to move more, sit less.
Yep.
We got to have good hormone balance. It's good to check our labs at a certain point in our lives. And then what about there's certain supplements that can really help either be appetite suppressants or kind of help us burn a little bit of extra belly fat, like the DHEAs of the world and
Yeah.
some of the bitter oranges that kind of help, tone down appetite.
Yeah, there's a bunch of little supplements that can help, and you reach out to us. We got a bunch of them there. You mentioned DHEA, Thermo EFX, which has some bitter orange in it. We got something called EndoTrim. We got a whole gamut of stuff to help people lose body fat, including these tips. So the bottom line is you don't have to have the excess body fat around, and if you do, we just gave some answers. So please consider reaching out to us. Check us out on our website at sherwood.tv, or you can check out our clinic by calling the number on the website too. We're glad to help.
What are the benefits of therapeutic massage?
First of all, we know the differences of massage. So we're going to talk about that next.
And when you navigate through these economies with people, here's what happens. We want to hold their hand through it, let them know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge. Because a lot of times when you're struck with fear does two things. Number one, it can paralyze, and people just put their head in the sand and say, I'm just going to forget about it and hopefully it gets better. Or it causes you to make a wrong decision. And this is why we are here, is to help people navigate through the political quagmire nonsense that's going on, the economic malaise, and the absolute collapse that we're seeing. And when our freedoms are eroding, our political freedoms, our economic freedoms, our personal freedoms, our religious freedoms, our health freedoms, they're all tied together. But you know what doesn't need to erode with that? Our finances.
KirkElliottPhD.com/Sherwood.
There's a lot of talk these days about human enhancement.
Terms like biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, and anti-fragility.
In our clinic, the Functional Medical Institute, we've been helping people of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds improve their quality of their physiology and maximize their lives.
So, you can follow the latest fads and gimmicks and maybe find some things that work for you.
Or you can add Kingdom Fuel to your daily regimen right now.
It's the simple start to a transformed life.
Our unique meal shakes are balanced, low glycemic, rich in fiber with 20 grams of clean protein, essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and organic fruits and vegetables. Kingdom Fuel is vegan with a complete amino acid profile.
No gimmicks, just proven results.
Start today at sherwood.tv/fuel.
Hey there, Kevin Sorbo here. Now, deep down, we know this. We're more than just a brain and a body. We're a spirit, we're a soul, and we're also a physical temple. If you hit the wall when you're trying to improve one aspect of your being, it's probably because, well, other aspects are sabotaging our success. So that's why diets don't work. And frankly, why so much conventional wisdom from our so-called medical establishments falls flat. Doctors Michele and Mark Sherwood have a very different approach. I should know because I happen to be one of their patients. They address the whole person to get to know you, your challenges, and more importantly, what your goals are. Then they offer a complete plan that addresses your unique biology and your heart. They'll help you discover what you need to experience transformation. So find out more at sherwood.tv/Sorbo. That's sherwood.tv/Sorbo, or see the link before. Now, I'm heading for a workout. You should be going for a workout too. All right, guys. God bless.
Everybody loves a good massage. I get it. We all do. But did you know there are some massive benefits other than just relaxation for massage? I can ask the expert, former massage therapist, doctor now, Michele Sherwood. So tell us about massage. You used to be a massage therapist, huh?
I did. I was a neuromuscular therapist, and I have healed or helped more people heal with my hands than I ever have with my prescription pad.
Whoa. Say that one more time. That's really good. I like that.
I have helped heal more people with my hands than I ever have with my prescription pad.
Man, I wish that statement right there would be on marquees around every single physician's office ever, because the idea that you just said you can heal more people with your hands, just touching somebody. And I mean, that can be metaphorically and also physically, but there is healing in that, isn't there? As opposed to just a management with a pill.
There is, and there's so many benefits to a good, it doesn't have to be a deep tissue massage, but some of the things that massage does is, when you get a trigger point or an ache in a muscle, that muscle has a toxic buildup in it. And when you hold pressure on that area, you hold pressure for 8 to 10 seconds and you release the pressure, that brings in blood flow and it flushes out those things that have been hanging in that knotted up muscle. Also, ligaments and tendons don't have a blood supply. So when a good massage therapist that knows anatomy and knows where the attachments of these things are, works on those areas, it gives those ligaments and tendons a good blood bath so that they can heal. Now, one of the things I find fascinating about the human body is that if you take everything out of the human body and you just leave fascia, that white stuff that's around meat in the markets, that's fascia. If you take everything out and you leave fascia, you will have a holographic image of a person in fascia.
Yep.
Now, I can get to the top of someone's head from touching their toe through that fascial connection. So the snag in the fishnet, someone might have pain in their shoulder, but it's actually a snag that's occurring in the fascia of the foot. So massage therapy done correctly can unwind that snag in the fishnet and rebalance a system that's been out of balance for a very long time.
I think it's fascinating. You talked about two different but also integrated processes. Is straightening out the fascia, which is made of collagen. We'll
connective tissue.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like that layer, that holographic image, that little thin barrier of collagen tissue that separates the skin, perhaps from the organs. And so it's just right below there, and it holds everything kind of in place. And all you're doing is straightening that out, like maybe tinfoil that's been crinkled, right? Something like that. And then the other part you talked about was increasing the blood flow in areas where there's not blood flow. Key thing, there's healing in the blood that carries oxygen and hormones and nutrients and peptides. And so if you can restore blood flow to those areas, it gives us an opportunity to get healed. So the question I would ask you as a person who knows about massages, are massages, would you consider necessary for people?
Not 100% necessary, but you take a competitive athlete, for example, who is getting beat up, bruised up, and they're going through intense competitive athletics on a regular basis. Getting good blood flow, oxygen, and nutrients to the tissues is going to improve the healing process, and it is going to decrease the time to recovery. So they're going to return back to their game quicker, faster, and stronger. We always say you don't want to train a body part when it's still sore. And if they're training every day, the number of days that an athlete spends sore is quite a lot. So massage therapy can be a huge benefit in a professional athlete or just somebody who's trying to take their game to the next level.
Well, and there's different type of massage therapy. I mean, there's sports massage, there's deep tissue massage, there's maybe relaxing massage, Swedish massage, kind of just very high level. Go with the differences.
So, the Swedish massage is kind of like just working an oil or a lotion into the skin. It's got a rhythmic motion to it and usually a technique that goes from head to toe. Neuromuscular therapy is somebody who's been very educated on anatomy. They're going to apply pressure in certain places that bring blood flow, oxygen, and nutrients into the tissue. They're going to hold pressure for a certain amount of time and then release that pressure. There is also just somebody that does deep tissue massage that they're not necessarily as anatomically trained, but they're going to take maybe their elbow or maybe their fist or their knuckle or their the density of their thumb, and they're going to go over the tissue with a deeper amount of pressure. There are other types of massage that use tools to scrape the fascia, if you will, to bring more blood to the tissue. Sometimes those techniques actually even cause a little bit of bruising, because when that bruises, the theory is that bruising brings in those stem cells, and those stem cells precipitate the healing process.
Well, that makes sense. So there's a bunch of different things. So it's like all people are not created equal. I guess not all massages are created equal, are they?
And not everybody likes a deep tissue massage. Some people prefer a lighter type of massage. So if you're getting a massage and it's hurting you, you can tell the therapist or the practitioner to lighten up the pressure, or instead of using their elbows, they can go to their thumbs.
Very good. So that is a lot about massage, and obviously you don't do that anymore, but if people give us a call, we could provide a recommendation, I suppose.
Well, and one of the reasons I chose to become an osteopath is that all osteopaths are trained to use their hands to do craniosacral therapy, to do articular release therapies, strain, counter strains, trigger point release. So an osteopathic physician has a toolbox that is a little bit different than an MD, as well as being able to prescribe medications, send you for an X-ray or an MRI if need be.
So there you go. There's healing in them their hands right there, I tell you, honestly. But massage is great. We wouldn't say it's necessary all the time, but it's always good to have that all the time if you choose to be, choose to have that experience. So all you ever want to know about massage. Right, so give us a call, check out our website, sherwood.tv, for other subjects just like this. What does our Constitution really mean? Find out next with our constitutional attorney expert, Chris Ann Hall.
Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet, and that's just sad.
We don't just need food, we need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages, we are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel now.
And when you navigate through these economies with people, here's what happens. We want to hold their hand through it, let them know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge. Because a lot of times when you're struck with fear does two things. Number one, it can paralyze, and people just put their head in the sand and say, I'm just going to forget about it and hopefully it gets better. Or it causes you to make a wrong decision. And this is why we are here, is to help people navigate through the political quagmire nonsense that's going on, the economic malaise, and the absolute collapse that we're seeing. And when our freedoms are eroding, our political freedoms, our economic freedoms, our personal freedoms, our religious freedoms, our health freedoms, they're all tied together. But you know what doesn't need to erode with that? Our finances.
KirkElliottPhD.com/Sherwood.
We have a brand new documentary out called Non-Compliant to the Sheriff. Now, our first documentary, Non-Compliant, and our second documentary, Non-Compliant 2, are both available at noncompliantmovie.com. The first documentary is all about the duty and the role of the state to be a check and balance on the federal government, state and local government. So if you haven't seen that yet, let me please recommend that you go to noncompliantmovie.com and watch the first documentary, available to you at no cost. It is going to be life-changing, and we have hundreds of thousands of 5-star reviews and people all over the world sending us messages about how this message is so life-changing. And it's a global message because, really, it's about your inherent rights. It's about why government is designed for one purpose. The purpose is to secure your rights, and how our founders put together our governments in order to retain the power by the people to be a check and balance on government through state and local government. And from that, we were inspired to create Non-Compliant to the Sheriff. Now, I have been for nearly a decade, traveling around the country, teaching sheriffs and deputies a 3-hour continuing education course, all about the role and the duty of the sheriff, the history of the sheriff's role and duty to secure our rights, not to violate them. We have a whole section on the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, what our sheriffs and their deputies need to know not to be sued. And then we have a section on the jurisdiction of the sheriff, which is so incredibly important. That jurisdiction of the sheriff is really the most powerful guard and protector of the rights of the people than any other institution our founders created here in these United States of America through our constitutional republic. And it's from that course that I had sheriffs telling me, this is inspirational. What you've taught us in these 3 hours is just simply life-changing. As a matter of fact, I've taught this at big conferences where I taught the sheriffs of 17 states all at one time. And I had sheriffs coming up to me immediately before I even got off the stage saying, I've been on the phone changing policies already based on what we learned from you. And we thought to ourselves, you know what? We need the people to know this information. We need the people to know this, number one, so that they can make sure the candidates they have for sheriff know the proper role and duty of the sheriff. So we can be sure to have constitutionally minded sheriffs. Number two, because if you have a constitutional sheriff, if the body of the people are not in support of that sheriff cannot be who they want to be and who they're required to be. And number 3, it empowers sheriffs who already have that inclination. In a world that is full of propaganda like defund the police and all of our law enforcement is evil, you see it all over the news, you see wicked politicians propagating this stuff. We knew we had to create non-compliant to the sheriff to show people what's really happening at the level of the sheriff that the media will not show you. There are sheriffs all over America who are standing up in defiance of unconstitutional laws and orders and edicts, in defense of the property rights of the people, and they've been doing this for years. But the politicians and the media do not want you to know this. They do not want you to know what sheriffs are doing successfully, regularly, to stand for people's rights, because this is how government's supposed to really, really work. Now, what we do with non-compliant 2 is we take 2 real-life situations, 2 events that actually happened. A pastor who refused to shut down his church over COVID, and a sheriff who arrested him for it. And a pastor who refused to shut down for COVID, and a sheriff who said, I'll go to jail to keep you open. And how this 2 incidents actually impacted and changed their states, and even all of these United States, all boiled down to what a sheriff would or would not do. This film is brand new, available at noncompliantmovie.com only right now. Pretty soon we're going to make it available on DVD, so maybe by the time you see this, it will be available on DVD at noncompliantmovie.com. But we're already getting messages about how this is life-changing. And to be honest, if you share this with your sheriff might be one who has watched this movie and come back to us and asked us to come and train their deputies. noncompliantmovie.com. It will be life-changing.
Exploring biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, or anti-fragility?
Start here. No gimmicks, just proven results.